I guess, once again, I have to be the one that has to say it. The prequel to Spider-Man 2 on the GameCube, Spider-Man 2018, is a steaming pile of shit. Nah, I'm just messing with you. It's a fucking banger. Going into it, I had my reservations. This gameplay looks a fucking decade old. Batman Arkham Asylum was good at the time, but with hindsight, we should have all realized that if all it takes to really feel like Batman is to mash X and Y and maybe B every now and again, then everyone would be doing it, you silly sausage. Also, I thought QuickTime events died in like 2013. Look, please understand, I'm just getting off of Fury on New Game Plus, and most religions aren't as worthy of being worshipped than Fury's combat on New Game Plus. So my standards are, shall we say, somewhat unreasonable. But God, Spider fucking damn, this is a good game. Just like how Fury relishes in its invigorating challenge, Spider-Man relishes in its pure, unadulterated fun. I could go on about how fun this game is till the cows come home, but I think I just heard a moo, so let's get being a cunt out of the way. Bloody hell, Peter Parker's a boring bastard. Besides the eyebrows you could beat whales to death with, it's really fuck all to the guy. I understand that he's supposed to be like Hannah Montana with the split personality thing, but that does kind of mean there's supposed to be at least a second personality.
You beautiful bastard.
Also, yes, the bits where you play as anyone but Spider-Man are boring as sin, but like the really shitty sins, like wearing polyester. Mary Jane looks too much like the Mass Effect Andromeda lady. I can't handle it, man. Also, the gadgets and suit powers are just instant I win buttons, which is the ass creed method of gameplay innovation, which is bad. These mini games are only here to pad out the length and just embarrassing. The game has enough content as it is, and I know Insomniac are capable of being cleverer than just the steam pipe game from BioShock. Sad. Also, yeah, that's about it. There are two aspects to every great open world game: a fun way to traverse the world and having fun shit to do in said world. Spider-Man, just by the first measure, is a fucking champ and a half. The amount of freedom you have, the fluidity of how you move, the ease of which you zip through this immense, gorgeous concrete oasis. It just makes other games feel comparatively restrictive. Also, I'm not usually the kind of person to gush about graphics, because with the kind of money that goes into these games, that's like complimenting a midget for his dick to weight ratio, but fuck! We have long since begun to plateau in terms of graphical fidelity. There's only so much you can really polish a pixel after all. However, there is still indeed room to grow outwards and but anyway, open world games often suffer from spreading themselves too thin to appease the marketing department's demand to have a square mileage they can put on the back of the box. However, Spider-Man has the power of having grappling hooks glued to his arms, so he almost demands to have a giant world with tall shit to jump yourself off of. And if the only selling point of this game was its absolutely gorgeous web swinging, then that would almost be acceptable, because then I could bitch about the game being shallow. But squirt on me with your wrist holes if this combat isn't something special. Though you can feel the influence of the Arkham games, don't let that put you off, because it's so ridiculous and flashy that it rarely ceases to put a smile on my face. If Spider-Man's disgusting disability was any more fully utilized, he'd have 6 legs and demand to be murdered every time he had sex. You stick bad guys to walls, you throw random shit at the bad guys, you throw bad guys at other bad guys, you drop shelter units on the bad guys, severing their spine in 6 different places. Yeah, if you thought Batman was a bit loosey-goosey with the whole Hippocratic Oath thing by leaving unconscious delinquents to freeze in the snow, you're gonna have a lot of fun with Spider-Man, because he just doesn't give a shit. It's funny how he mentions that his annoying fucking banter is just a defense mechanism, because the snappy quips and dialogue really do come off like a weak attempt to dampen the guilt of throwing dozens of people off the top of buildings. Which brings me back to this thing. Peter Parker is such a boring bastard in this. It might have been more interesting if they tried to play up the whole Christian youth angle they were going for at some points. I personally really liked the research lab side missions because seeing this guy with limitless freedom and power using said limitless freedom and power to do really menial shit, like fixing plumbing systems and vaccinating fish and reducing air pollution, really speaks a lot about his character and is fucking hilarious. It's just me saying that in a video game with video game characters, better to characterize your video game characters in the video game with the video game parts of the video game rather than not the video game parts of the video game. I don't know, fucking maybe! There was also this one line of his that really stuck with me. Drug crimes are easily my least favorite of all the illegal activities. Like, fucking hell, mate. Yeah, Johnny Biggins, the back alley super rapist, might be a bit of a nuisance, but at least he's not doing something really serious, like smoking a joint. But speaking of the Reagan era, Spider-Man has just the worst villains. I know they're all like 50 years old and we only keep them around because we're too scared to come up with any new modern mythology, but at the same time, all of these villains are just either based off of animals or are just really fucking dumb. This guy's just made up of the negative filter in Photoshop, and as such has all of the powers you would expect that to entail, like corrupting people and making weapons more powerful and making your creepypasta somehow even lamer. At least Batman has the paper-thin defense of having all the villains be reflections of himself. But what reflections are we gleaming from Electro and Shocker that we should let our friends know what we're wearing to the Halloween party? They're all so fucking stupid, and that exactly is why I love them. Because I feel like that's what would most likely happen in a world where it is completely normal to put on masks and use advanced miracles of science to just do menial shit like rob banks and mug people. Also something copycats, something school shootings, something. But here's the real question here. Where's the really cool villains like Frogman or Plant Man or the Stilt Man? He has some stilts, just like Lady Stilt Man. It's not clever, it's not groundbreaking, it's not at all challenging. I played it on the hardest difficulty and I had more struggle chasing around the pigeons than I did foiling the machinations of the super terrorists. Also, here's a fun drinking game. Take a shot every time you go, ooh, that reminds me a bit of the Arkham games. Like the combat and the setting and the mechanics and the stealth and the villains and that one bit where you're poisoned by a hallucinogenic neurotoxin, so you have to fight the villain in a warped version if you're in a psyche. However, please, for the love of crikey, ignore me. Comparison is the lowest form of critique, and this game is the lowest form of fucking fantastic. 9 out of 10, easily. Fuck me, it's great. Definitely better than fucking God of War.